Martha Raddatz and David Muir. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, George, and welcome to you at home and to our audience here of more than 1,000 New Hampshire voters. Martha and I, along with our partners, WMUR-TV and the Independent Journal Review, are honored to be here at St. Anselm College in Manchester. The candidates are all here, and the New Hampshire Republican debate starts now.
Starting now, David Muir and Martha Raddatz.
Good evening again, everyone. This is the first time since Iowa and the only time before the New Hampshire primary that the Republican candidates will have the opportunity to face each other. The people of Iowa have been heard. Now it's New Hampshire's turn. In just 3 days, voters here will decide who they think should be the Republican nominee for president.
Questions of leadership and character have dominated the news ever since the Iowa caucuses a few days ago.
Let's welcome the candidates for the Republican nomination for president. Dr. Ben Carson, please come out on the stage. He's standing there as well. Dr. Carson.
And Donald Trump.
And lastly, we welcome back to the debate stage Donald Trump.
Can I introduce
It's so noisy
Kasich?
in here. Yes. We're going to introduce Ohio Governor John Kasich. The applause so loud here.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight, just days before voters here in New Hampshire make their decisions. The rules are simple and have been agreed to by all the campaigns. There will be 60 seconds to answer, and if another candidate is mentioned in that answer, that candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. There are green, yellow, and red lights that each candidate will see to signal when time is up, and they will also hear this sound.
So let's get started. We welcome you all to the debate stage here tonight. We're going to tackle the issues Americans are most concerned about: the economy, ISIS, homeland security, and here in New Hampshire, some of the most heated rhetoric yet over who is best suited to step in on day one, who has the experience, who has the temperament to be commander-in-chief. Mr. Trump, Senator Cruz has said about you right here in New Hampshire this week, quote, "I don't know anyone who would be comfortable with someone who behaves this way, having his finger on the button. Reliable to wake up one morning, and if he were president, he would nuke Denmark," saying, quote, "That's not the temperament of a leader to keep this country safe." I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to this and to tell the American people tonight why you do have the temperament to be commander-in-chief. Mr. Trump, thank you. I want to bring this back to Senator Cruz then, because, Senator, you did say of Trump's behavior this week, that's not the temperament of a leader to keep this country safe. Why not?
Well,
Senator Cruz, I did ask about Mr. Trump. You said he doesn't have the temperament to be commander-in-chief. Do you stand by those words? Senator Cruz, thank you. We're going to continue on this notion of readiness and experience. I'm going to come back.
I have to respond.
If you'd like to respond, Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, thank you. And we're going to continue on this notion of readiness and on experience, but I do want to ask about a headline that was back in the papers again this morning. Dr. Carson, on the day of the Iowa caucuses, the Cruz campaign sent out messages and voicemails saying, quote, "Breaking news. Dr. Ben Carson will be planning to suspend his campaign following tonight's caucuses. Please inform any Carson caucus goers of this news." But as we can all see, you're still standing here tonight. Late this week, your campaign sent this email, quote, "This kind of deceitful behavior is why the American people don't trust politicians. If Senator Cruz does not act, then he clearly represents D.C. values. What kind of action do you think Senator Cruz should take?" Senator Cruz. Dr. Carson, thank you. Senator Cruz, you have said that Dr. Carson and his wife have become friends of yours. I'm curious why you didn't call ahead of time, either the doctor or his wife, or have your campaign check in with the other campaign before sending out those messages. Senator Cruz, thank you. We're going to move on here and back to the issues.
Since I was mentioned,
Dr. Carson, please. Dr. Carson, thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Senator Rubio. I want to stay on the issue of readiness to be president and experience, and questions about you being a first-term senator. Governor Christie warning voters here in New Hampshire against voting for another first-term senator, as America did with Barack Obama in 2008, arguing that you are, quote, "not ready to be president of the United States." And Senator Santorum, who we all know dropped out of the race just this week and endorsed you, had a hard time when asked on national television listing your accomplishments as senator. Tonight, what are your accomplishments in the Senate that demonstrate you're ready to be president of the United States?
well,
Senator Rubio, thank you. I do want to ask Governor Christie, Governor Christie, you said, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, when it comes to electing a first-term senator. You heard Senator Rubio make the case that he does have the experience. Your response?
Sure.
Senator Rubio, thank you. I do want to bring in Governor Bush on this.
Hold on
because
one
you've
second.
made this.
Excuse me.
If you'd like to respond to the economic...
I think he directly mentioned me in my record.
Governor Christie,
No,
Chris, why don't you
You know what the shame is?
get into this.
You know what the shame
Governor
really
Christie.
when he gets off his talking
Thank you,
points.
Governor. I will
Here's
mention
the
you.
thing.
It's your
Listen,
record. It's not a talking point. It's your record.
Governor Bush, I'll mention your name so that you can come in on this. And I do want to bring you into this.
Thank you.
I want to bring you in on this because you've made this central to your campaign right here in New Hampshire in the last couple of days. But 4 years ago, you said of Senator Rubio, he was ready to be vice president. You spoke of his experience as well. You said he has the fortitude to be a good president. But just this week, you said Senator Rubio accomplished, quote, nothing in the Senate. How do you square the two? We're going to continue with leadership now, and Martha.
Senator Cruz, you are a first-term senator as well. How would you respond to tonight's launch?
Well, we've got to step with the technology, the instruments that can be used for mass destruction. That's
Governor Bush, another problem facing the commander-in-chief right now.
Back in the game where the United States word matters, where we...
Martha, we're going to turn to immigration now, and I want to bring in Governor Kasich, because you told us in an ABC interview, Governor, quote, it is completely ridiculous to think that we're going to go into neighborhoods, grab people out of their homes, and ship people back to Mexico. Adding, quote, that's not where the party is. The party is not for deporting 11.5 million people. But Mr. Trump and Senator Cruz, who've made deportation central to their campaigns, top the national polls. So my question for you, are you not where the voters are? Governor Kasich, thank you. I want to bring this next to Senator Cruz. You heard what the governor said. He said we need practical solutions. And you've said, I don't intend to send jackboots to knock on doors. That's not how we enforce the law for any crime. So what is your plan? How will you deport 11.5 million undocumented people? And be specific. How would you do it?
So in terms of
let me just ask you this, though, because Governor Kasich was talking about the families and what you do with the families that you have to send home. Can you tell the American people tonight how you would do that? Senator Cruz, thank you. I want to bring in Senator Rubio. This question is about immigration. It's also about leadership. You're aware of the criticism from many candidates on this stage tonight that you co-authored the so-called Gang of Eight bill that would have created a path to citizenship for people here illegally. Governor Christie has said of you, as soon as you felt the heat, you turn tail and run. Governor Bush has said, I don't think we need people cutting and running anymore. Did you fight for your own legislation, Senator, or did you run from it? But I'm asking, did you fight for the legislation at the time, or did you run from it as your...
Well, the legislation...
Governor Christie?
Yeah, David, I'd just like you...
Governor, thank you. Senator Rubio. Senator Rubio, thank you. We want to turn to health care in this country, and for that, author and commentator Mary Catherine Ham tonight. Mary Catherine? Thank you. When we come back here tonight, jobs, ISIS, and what it means to be a conservative. The Republican debate continues right here from New Hampshire on ABC. We'll be right back.
Here again are David Muir and Martha Raddatz.
And we welcome you back to the Republican debate from New Hampshire tonight here on ABC. And we're going to turn now to what it means to be a conservative. And I want to turn to Governor Kasich. Governor, while campaigning here in New Hampshire, you were already asked by ABC about groans from some conservatives after your endorsements from the New York Times and the Boston Globe. You said, quote, what conservatives have to know is they have to say, look, isn't it nice to have a conservative like me liked? And maybe they ought to think about it. Because if I get elected president, the Republican Party and the definition of conservatism is going to change. How would you change conservatism?
well, first of all, but everybody has a chance to rise regardless of who they are.
Governor Kasich, thank you. Mr. Trump, you've heard the argument from many of the candidates on this stage that you're not a true conservative. Tell the voters watching tonight why you are. Mr. Trump, thank you. Senator Rubio, you have said yourself that you don't think Donald Trump is running as a conservative. Did he convince you? Senator Rubio, thank you. I want to turn this discussion to the economy now. And Mr. Trump, Governor Christie has said, I tell everybody who goes to a Donald Trump event, if you get to ask a question, just ask him how. Christie said, I don't care which of the things he talks about, just ask him how. You have said that you'd be the greatest jobs president God ever created. Tell Americans watching tonight how many jobs you would create in the first term and how. Mr. Trump, thank you. There are a lot of governors on this stage tonight, and Governor Kasich has said of you, quote, in Ohio, we have balanced a budget. They don't have one over in New Jersey. Our credit has been strengthened. Their credit has been downgraded. We've got more jobs. How important are those metrics in choosing the next president? And is his record on jobs, I should say, actually stronger than yours? Governor Kasich, you did say your record was better than his.
I want to say something about.
Martha, thank you. We're going to stay on ISIS here and the war on terror because, as you know, there's been a debate in this country about how to deal with the enemy and about enhanced interrogation techniques ever since 9/11. So, Senator Cruz, you have said, quote, torture is wrong, unambiguously, period. Civilized nations do not engage in torture. Some of the other candidates say they don't think waterboarding is torture. Mr. Trump has said, I would bring it back. Senator Cruz, is waterboarding torture? If elected president, would you bring it back?
I would.
Senator Cruz, thank you. Mr. Trump, you said not only does it work, but that you'd bring it back.
Well,
Mr. Trump, thank you. Governor Bush, you have said that you won't rule waterboarding out. Congress has passed laws banning the use of waterboarding by the military and the CIA, as you know. Would you want Congress to change that if you're elected president?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. And it was.
Governor Bush, thank you. Senator Rubio, I do want to ask you, you have said that you do not want to telegraph to the enemy what you would do as commander-in-chief. But for the American people watching tonight who want to know where the next president will stand, do you believe waterboarding is torture?
well, when.
Senator Rubio, thank you. We want to turn now to the topic of executive orders, and for that we're going to turn back to Mary Catherine Ham. Mary Catherine? Mary Catherine, thank you. We want to turn to something the governor of New Hampshire said. A connection here on the stage. We're going to move on to what the governor of New Hampshire said just this week, and that is that heroin overdose is now the second leading cause of death in this state. You don't need me to tell you that. But there's another number. 48% of the people here in this state know someone who has abused heroin. Josh, who covers this for WMUR, has the next question.
Thank you, Josh. Our partner in this debate, the independent journal Review, has collected questions from some prominent conservatives around the country.
Governor, we'll come to you in the next segment. When we come back, questions about race, about our veterans, and social issues, what younger conservative voters are now saying, as we continue from New Hampshire with the Republican debate right here on ABC. Welcome back to New Hampshire, ABC News coverage of the Republican debate, and it's great to have you back at the podiums, and we want to turn to race in America and Mr. Trump. There are many who argue cell phones and smartphones are just now exposing what's been happening in this country for years, cases of excessive force against minorities. As you know, Mr. Trump, on the other side, the FBI director recently said there's a chill wind blowing through law enforcement because of increased scrutiny. You have said police are the most mistreated people in America. As president, how do you bridge the divide?
Well, they're.
Great. Mr. Trump, I did ask about bridging the divide, though, as president. So what would you say to the American families who say, we have lived through this, we have seen excessive force? What would you say to those?
Well, they do, and, they sue. Everybody sues, right? They sue.
I do want to ask
I wanted to say, look, and I created a big collaborative in Ohio made up.
Senator Rubio, I want to ask you next. President Obama visited a mosque this week in America for the first time in his presidency. President George W. Bush visited a mosque after September 11th. You said of President Obama, quote, he's always pitting people against each other. So I'm curious, how are the two visits different, and would you visit a mosque as president?
I would, but that's not the issue.
Senator Rubio, thank you. Martha? Mary Catherine, thank you. We're going to have closing statements here in just a moment, but before we go, a quick lightning round. Come November, two battleground states, but they face off tomorrow in the Super Bowl. Governor Kasich, who wins?
Carolina's going to win that one.
Governor Bush.
And I'm for Denver.
Rubio.
Carolina.
Paul Cam. Mr. Trump.
Carolina.
All right, Dr. Carson.
With 100% certainty, it'd be either Denver or Carolina.
Yeah. Governor Christie, the last word.
Denver.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. Closing statements in just a moment. Right here as the ABC News Republican debate continues from New Hampshire right after this. We welcome you back. The New Hampshire primary, of course, is Tuesday. The time now for closing statements. And we begin tonight with Governor Kasich.
Governor Christie.
Governor Bush.
Dr. Carson.
Thank you, Dr. Carson. Senator Rubio.
Senator Cruz.
Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, thank you. Thanks to all the candidates on the stage here tonight. We thank the people of Manchester, New Hampshire for having us for this debate, and to everyone at home. The New Hampshire primary is Tuesday. George Stephanopoulos and the powerhouse political team standing by. Take it away, George.
Thank these debates, he knew he had to fight like a gladiator tonight, and yet he was just not ready for Governor Chris Christie, who had been attacking him all week. From my conversations earlier with...
No, I'm amazed at the turn of events in
Iowa. Now he's